Hello and welcome to the channel. It's your favourite Scotsman here again, and today we're going to be covering all things Canadian government pensions. CPP, the Canada Pension Plan, OAS, Old Age Security, and GIS, the Guaranteed Income Supplement. It's a lot to unpack on your own, but hey, you've got me here to help explain them so you'll have a better understanding of what the future holds for you. I was talking to a client last week who had no clue what he was due to receive in government benefits. Everybody's situation is different, as we're about to get into, but for most of you, what you do receive can add up and significantly help with your retirement income. Let's start with CPP. For most of you, this will be the largest payment you will receive. The payment you receive is based on how much you've put into the plan over your working life. In 2023, you contribute 5.95% of your paycheck and your employer contributes the same. Unless you're self-employed, which means you get the short straw and have to put in both portions. There are limits though. You don't contribute anything in the first $3,500 you earn, and it caps out at $66,600, which is referred to as the YMPE, or Yearly Maximum Pensionable Earnings, which ties us in nicely in terms of how much will you actually receive. Surprise, surprise, like most things government related, they don't make it easy. That said though, you've got me to walk you through it. One approach to consider is taking a look at the yearly maximum pensionable earnings, which we just talked about. I will also include a link to this in the show notes. A good estimate is that if your salary has consistently been close to or above the maximum amounts for 39 years or more, then you're likely to receive close to the maximum payment, which is currently $1,306.57 a month if you take your CPP at the normal retirement age of 65. The best option though is to call the CPP, and we'll leave the details in the show notes. You may have in the past received or requested a statement of contributions from the CPP or logged into your My Service Canada account. But please be aware that the estimates that are provided are exactly that. They're estimates based on assumptions that may not even be correct. If you call the CPP and give them some more in-depth detail about your situation, your estimated length of your career, and how much money you will make in that time, they can give you a much more accurate number in terms of how much you can expect to receive. You can take your CPP as early as age 60 or as late as age 70, but there are consequences to taking it early, and on the flip side, some nice benefits to delaying. Your CPP is decreased by 0.6% per month for every month you take it prior to the age of 65. If you choose to take your CPP at age 60, this means you receive 36% less than if you took it at age 65. For life. The current maximum monthly pension you can receive at age 60 is $836.20. Conversely, electing to delay your CPP after the age of 65 results in an increase of 0.7% per month, which works out to be a grand total of 42% more if you delay all the way up to age 70. There are no further increases after age 70, and the current maximum monthly pension you can receive at age 70 is $1,855.33. There's a pretty big difference between those numbers, so do not take this decision lightly. Generally, I don't recommend to clients that they take CPP early unless they simply need the money or their life expectancy has been significantly shortened. I'm not going to go into the full ins and outs and reasons to consider taking or delaying. We've done some of that in other videos, which we'll link to in the show notes. There's one other thing you need to consider when it comes to CPP. The CPP calculation is based on how much you have put into the plan and how long you have contributed to it. We covered earlier the how much you have put in part, which is based on your earnings over the years. But the how long part is totally dependent on how many years you have worked in Canada between the ages of 18 and 65. And not every year counts. The 8 lowest earning years of your working life are dropped off and completely excluded from the calculation. This does mean though that if you retire early, let's say at age 55 for example, you have to keep a close eye on your CPP benefit. Let's say from ages 18 to 26, your earnings were fairly low as you started out in your career, and then you retired at age 55. This could mean that you have 8 years of lower earning years between 18 and 26, and then 10 years between ages 55 and 65 with no contributions to the CPP. Those 10 years would unfavourably count towards the calculation and start to bring down your overall CPP payment. In this case, you might actually be better off considering taking CPP early. One thing to note though, let's say you're age 65, retired, and looking at taking CPP at age 70, don't worry about those 5 years counting unfavourably towards the calculation, as after age 65, they're no longer counted. Before we wrap up this CPP section, I'm just going to mention a few more features. If you took years off to raise children, then those years can be excluded from your CPP calculation under what is called the child rearing provision. This means that these years won't skew the average contributions. You have to apply for this though, so when you do apply for CPP, keep this in mind. There's a whole host of other benefits that I will leave a link to in the show notes for you to take a look at and dig deeper into. CPP disability, the survivor benefit, the death benefit of $2,500, and the benefit to the deceased contributors. Okay, moving on. Now we're on to OAS, or Old Age Security, and this is a little simpler. Sort of. You do not contribute to this plan. The benefits are the same for everyone, as long as you've lived in Canada for 40 years after the age of 18. The maximum payment is currently $698.60 monthly for ages 65 to 74 and $768.46 a month for ages 75 and over. The OAS increases every quarter with inflation, so these are the July to September 2023 amounts. If you haven't lived in Canada for 40 years after the age of 18, then you do have to do a little math. You have to tally up every year that you've lived in Canada and divide it by 40. As an example, let's say you've lived in Canada for 30 years after the age of 18. You take 30, you divide it by 40, which equals 0.75. You then take the maximum OAS payment, which is $698.60, and multiply it by 0.75. This equals $523.95. Just a quick 10-second break here. If you haven't already done so, please do subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. And on top of that, you won't miss another episode. Okay, back to what you came for. Like CPP, you do have options on when to start taking your OAS, but they're not quite as flexible. Age 65 is the earliest you can start taking it. Similar to the CPP though, you do have the option to delay it all the way up to age 70, and you do get an increased benefit every month for the rest of your life for delaying. The difference though is that you only get 0.6% of an increase for every month you delay your OAS, as opposed to the 0.7% you get for delaying CPP. If you go all the way up to age 70, this means you get a total of 36% more every month for the rest of your life versus the 42% more on CPP. So, if you're choosing to delay just one of them, then go for CPP, as you do get more bang for your buck. Having options is one thing, but knowing how to use them to your advantage is where the real benefits are. Old Age Security does have a bit of a curveball though, the dreaded clawback, or pension recovery tax, as it's formally known. You may want to check out another video of mine on 5 ways to avoid OAS clawback, which I will include in the show notes for more details. But today, I'm going to keep this relatively short and simple. In 2023, if you have an income of $86,912 and over, you will start to lose a portion of your OAS benefits. Once your income exceeds a total of $142,428 for ages 65 to 74 and $147,979 for ages 75 and over, you'll lose it all. OAS clawback results in a reduction of OAS benefits by 15 cents for every dollar above the threshold amount and is essentially an additional 15% tax. You don't lose it all straight away though. OAS is always a year behind, so if you're over the threshold this year, you won't start to get clawed back until July of 2024. One area we should touch on for OAS and clawback in particular is the timing of retirement. Let's say you plan to retire at the end of this year and you're making good money and you're well over the clawback threshold of $86,912. Fast forward to next year, your income is going to be much lower once you're in retirement and you could decide to start OAS. Bad idea. Remember that the clawback is based on the previous year's income where you still had a high salary whilst you were still working. Starting OAS in this situation is only going to see you clawed back come July of next year. You may be better off delaying OAS for a year and benefiting from the higher monthly amount instead of getting it clawed back. And then, just to add insult to injury, you will not benefit from the increased amount the following year because you never elected to delay. These finer points can make a world of difference for your retirement, so taking the time to explain them to people lets me help my viewers who may not have a dedicated financial planner. This brings me to the final point in OAS. At age 65, OAS is sent to you automatically. If you want to delay it, you must elect to do so. There's so many people out there who just don't think about this at the time and end up taking it only to find out a large chunk, or even worse, all of it is being clawed back. Again, if this video encourages even one single person to make that decision, I'll be over the moon to have helped out. The last thing we're going to cover today is the Guaranteed Income Supplement, or GIS as it is commonly referred to. This one is for low-income households, so not everyone will receive it. You apply for it when you apply for your OAS, and it's income-based, so it will happen automatically if you're eligible. What you receive will depend on your income level. While the individual payments may seem rather slim, and you may only receive them for a short period of time, it does add up over a longer period of time. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time in this today, but if you do indeed qualify and have a spouse or common law partner that is between the ages of 60 and 64, there is what is called the allowance as well. We'll leave a link to that below. There's a lot of layers to what's available to you from government pensions between CPP, OAS, GIS, survivor pensions, disability, allowance, etc. One huge benefit we haven't touched on yet is that all government pensions are indexed for inflation. This means that as the cost of living increases, as has happened quite significantly in the past couple of years, your pension payments increase with it. This is also a good reason to consider delaying your CPP and OAS if you can. If we see another spike in inflation down the road, at least the pension you're collecting is a bigger amount, and the annual inflation increases are based on that bigger amount, so you get a double benefit that way. What we have run through today is a general overview of these government plans. If I could give you one takeaway though, you want to make sure that you fully understand your CPP. For most of you, it will generally be the biggest benefit, and there's a massive difference between taking CPP at age 60 versus age 70. At the end of the day, you know yourself better than anyone, unless of course you have a really good financial planner, and these decisions are as unique as you. Do what's right for you and your family. These government plans were never designed to be the sole source of retirement income. They were only meant as a baseline or supplement. That said though, make sure you run some calculations and work with your financial planner to clearly map this out so you understand the implications of the decisions that you're making. And the earlier you start this, the better. These decisions, such as when to take CPP and how to draw down your investment accounts to avoid OAS clawback, can have a massive impact on the amount of money you will have at your disposal for the rest of your life. That's it for today, folks. I really do hope that you've found this beneficial and maybe even enjoyed it a little. If you have enjoyed it, please do subscribe and hit the thumbs up. Thanks for sticking with us. I know it's a lot to digest, so if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below in the comments. I'm more than happy to help when and where I can. Till next time, and don't forget, a good financial plan understands your goals, but a great one knows the motivations behind them.